Hey everybody, it's Josh here at Jim's Hobbies. We are going to take Charlie's old chassis truck, one of the original prototypes, and switch it over to the production chassis. And I thought I'd have a recording so you can see what's going along with it. And basically, even though the drive shaft's already cut and the links are already made, you can go along with me while I take it apart and put the new chassis on it. You can see how it's done for if you're building your own Lone Ranger chassis. Um, And if you don't know what the Lone Ranger chassis is, it is a G10 forward skid design chassis that myself, Mitch Miner, and a couple buddies came up with. Uh, Truck Tech Joe, Trail Crawlers helped. We got some out there in the world being tested, and they're running really well. And so we decided to go ahead and release it. They're made out of G10, 3 millimeters thick. Uh, Top Speed RC Mitch Miner cuts them on his table, and we have them for $45 with a bed or with a brace, or you can get a bed and then a front winch mount for full size or smaller winches. All right, let's get started. All right, so pop the body off of here. You can see what's in here right now. And it's a little dusty, but it's a two-load transmission with a Holmes V2 1400 snub nose. Holmes uh, SG 500 servo, SHB 500 V3, V2 um, Holmes ESC, and BEC. Not much to it. And again, it was a prototype, so there's extra holes over here because it moved on the table. All fixed now. These are what they look like now. So let's start tearing it apart and get to work. Probably end up changing out these tires too. I'm not a fan of Hyrax with comp tires, but this truck was built a long time ago, originally on a G-Speed V3, and we really didn't know about J Concepts tires back then, and these were what everybody said to get back then. So that's what we got. All right. I think I'm gonna have to do some link adjustment on this because it was, again, this was built very, very early in our pre pre-production type stuff. So this was made still figuring out link sizes and all that good stuff. And it was hardware we had lying around. Now I have all matched hardware for it. So I'll make a note in the video if you want to get past the disassembly to the assembly side on what time that will be. These are old sliders off the V-Speed, kind of modified to fit. This is an old 3D printed bumper we had laying around, which won't be used anymore because it's going to be, I'm going to put this red bed I printed on here because why not? It's got red wheels. Let's make it fully obnoxious with all red. This is one of the Chunky Customs bumpers It was on his old chassis, so it was a little more pinched. Um, we'll put a wider bumper on it so it's not so pinched. Again, this was one of the first builds we did with this truck. So it's still not the correct angle on the front of the skid. I'll be able to show you that here in a minute once everything's apart. So this one does have angled on the AR-45, the straight axle for your upper links. I like to use the angled rod ends so it's not so it won't bind, because if you use the straight it kind of pushes it out and you don't get that freedom of movement that you normally get. All right, so this is the old. You can see there's extra holes drilled in it because it moved and had to align everything. That chassis rail is not really good for anything anymore, but it served its purpose for a while. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the skid back on here with the rail. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. So it's a slotted, so it'll fit in a couple different sizes. And the G speed is set up for, it's actually a G speed skid in here, which is what we use. We use the G speed or the Amazon if you want to buy the Amazon skid. Um, but they're all around 38 millimeters. That isn't the right size. Like I said, some of the hardware needed fixed. Supposed to be this screw. Um, this is the first comp truck, well, the only comp truck Charlie put together a while ago. And it took a while to build it, and everything's kind of evolved since then. So hopefully these parts help it to be back up to where it should be. We know the motor's a little slow. We're going to move this up a hole. So it didn't like the way it was working before. So when I designed this, we set the holes up to where dry shaft slid out. I'm sure it's going to do on the other side too. Let's make sure that's in phase first. We set it up where you had a bunch of adjustment for whatever you wanted to do on your links and stuff. Now we're seeing with the triangulation of the front end and where we're wanting to do stuff, you really only need the bottom two holes. But when designing that, before I had a physical copy, and I'm not that advanced in CAD to put a chassis in and figure out what it likes versus what it doesn't. Um, I couldn't move everything in the range that I wanted to move it. But now that it's here in my hands, I can see that you basically only need these bottom couple holes for your rod ends, for your links. Obviously, depending on where you set everything up. All right. This rail is hooked to that side. I think I'm going to pop this rail off and move forward that way. Trying to decide if I'm going to pop these. I bought some tubing to put over the threaded rod in the front. I had some load weight down low. I may still do that, but we will see. And I'm going to put a different, I think I'm going to put a different body mount on it, but he doesn't have a winch. So I'm going back and forth if I want to just use this prototype one that is working, or if I want to use um, one of the newer designs for that. This is one I just made to hold a body, not to hold a winch. I don't know, I screwed that back in. This is the rail coming off. Probably just line stuff up. I hope you can see this, what I'm doing. It's hard to tell on the computer. All right, there's the old bumper. Let's get the skid off. That screw isn't heavy. I need to replace that one. And doing it this way, I don't have to take any of the electronics and Velcro off the skids. So this one was so prototyped, I never even put new rod ends or new links on the front, like I said. So probably going to cut some of that silver or that aluminum rod and put sleeves on the front. All right, all that's left is this rear link. And now the other chassis rails off. Line up our skids. That screw works fine, and the hand tool, maybe I just didn't have it lined up when paying attention. All right. Okay. Let's put this front link back in. Drive shaft stayed in place. That looks a lot better. Looks a lot better. All right. Put the front links on. So the front upper link on this is 75 and the bottom is 88. That's what we found works good. The AR 44 might need a little bit longer on top. You might need to go to 78 to get your drive shaft angle where you like it, since it is a 10-degree skid. Um, but and if you want the front end to go out farther, that's up to you. Like, I can tell you what we used and what it likes. With the straight axle AR 44, the upper links need the angled rod ends because this is designed to be servo on axle. So servo on axle, angled rod end, and that's pretty much where it sits. I'm gonna thread some chocks in here, and we'll see how everything lines up. Don't mind the grinding dust from when I was drilling holes on the chassis and making everything lined up. I don't think I've ever cleaned it up since then. Again, this truck's been together. One of the first ones. Obviously, should swap out that brace because those threads did not feel great. Or actually drill it out the rest of the way and just put a nut on the back, which I may do. But I think he's got a leaking shock. So there's the front end back together. Let's move our camera up if the mount doesn't bite me. And then hopefully we're back to where you can see good. All right. I think now we'll do these links. I pop this out because I did not like. That's why this had this screw in it because it didn't want to come out. And I didn't want to fight it when I was building this. Now I remember. Just long enough. Put a knife on it too. Yeah, should probably do that. Let's put our drive shaft in phase. So this one screws up. This one screws up. There we go. We'll start a nut on here. So hold things in place. I'll tighten it up after we get the bed on. There's that side. Again, I hope you can see this. I hope this isn't a waste of everyone's time. With the setup on this truck, I'm pretty sure this one has to be a cap head. So it's not too close to the drive shaft. There we go. And I think this is the right size, and this is N2 that I was using earlier. 2.5 there. That is the wrong one. Hold while I grab new hardware. This is drive trail and saying it's not all the same color. Okay. Let's set the bed in here. So hopefully you can see what I'm doing. The bed is made to sit right like that. And I should have enough screws here to put the bed in. These beds are printed out of PETG now. I did use ASA, but Kurt had a problem with one in shipping. So I switched to PETG. So far, I'm having a lot better luck with the PETG. Screw tightened right up. I did not pre-thread these holes for the bed. Um, I just printed them to where a tap should fit. But so far, doing it like that, it's all set just like that. Now we can pick where to put our shocks. So these have um, am I getting binding from the drive shaft? I think my drive shaft is hitting the screw here, which means I need to slide the transmission over a tiny bit, if I remember right. Oh, no shocks, the drive shaft will fall out. So these are Amazon cut to length drive shafts that, other than making sure you Loctite everything, they work really good. Maybe up one more hole in the mix. Maybe up to the third hole. See if it likes that better. And again, the other chassis was so drilled, nothing was as square as it should have been. Hmm. Isn't it either? Maybe it's the bottom hole. Ah, it was the bottom hole. There we go. All our articulation is back. So I think I want these. Ah, yes. I remember when I first built this, I had to loosen the sliders. I see, says the blind man. So I think I want these on the second set of holes right there. It'll be just before it bottoms out on the bed. That should work pretty good. All right. I will have to loosen the sliders to get those locking nuts on those links because it is tight clearance with these sliders. And I want to switch out his sliders, but it's his truck. So I will wait on that. I'm starting those with the, because I didn't know how tight it was going to be, but it fits nice. So third hole, at a pretty good angle. I did have it on the bottom, and I just didn't like how the truck was working there. Last time I drove it, which part of it is probably those Hyraxes. This truck was not transferring the greatest. The tires kept slipping, and that was hopping. So part of the solution was the bed. All right, loosen up this slider so we can get to the screw easier. And the sliders are totally up to you what you use. Except these are the G Speed ones. There's a ton of sliders on Thingiverse and places like that that will work. Since it's not my file and I haven't designed one yet, I'm not going to include it with the chassis. I can give you the link, but I don't own it. I don't want to use somebody else's stuff on a product I'm selling. It's everything else I designed. I'm going to have to trim that. Like I said, the other chassis was a little bit off. This one is not. So Everything's a little bit different. I think I'm just going to switch it over to the smaller sliders. What I'm going to do, taking these screws out, I'm going to switch it over to the smaller sliders. He doesn't need these monsters. He can use them on a different truck. Pop this receiver off here. Put this nut on here for the link. Again, these are the straight axles. They're in the bottom hole. They're 160 as the length. If you want to use upper holes, you will probably just need to have a little bit shorter link. Or a link riser, because it's binding, it binds on the axle otherwise. Grab some sliders I printed. These are the Thingiverse sliders I was talking about. They work great for this, and with using these sliders, use shorter screws. Don't need these monsters in here because it's not as thick. I'm going to use these cap heads because I think the cutout on this is designed for a cap head. Whoever designed this, I would give them a shout out, but I don't remember who it was. Oops. Needs to be below the nut. So on this truck, we use the sliders to hold the battery and the electronics, at least the receiver. You technically don't have to use it to hold the receiver because you could just zip tie it in with the wires if you're building a tree pump truck, but I don't think it works the same that way. Come on, Josh. There we go. Started. I may have to trim these too. Yeah, because on the quarter axle trucks, I run it a hole higher. No biggie. Just mark it where I need to trim it. There. Maybe it's the same on the other one. All right. Take this back off. And stand by for trimming. All right, so took the Dremel, made that little notch right in there, and right in there for the nut. Now we have, I think the shock is like empty. I should take it apart before I put everything together. All right, and then here's our bumper. Chunky Customs bumpers. This is a little bit different than what's on his website. It's a curved one instead of a um, square or triangle. It's one that I tried out, but grab you a Chunky Customs bumper for this or 3D print something for yourself. That's the thing with this chassis. I want you to make it your own. All right. I don't know how many people watch Josh RC every day, but it's one thing he always talks about is make it your own. Build it the way you want. And I really like that idea. With comp trucks, that's pretty easy to do. All right. So I hit pause and I did some things and I forgot to hit start again. So the truck is sitting together. These rear shocks need bled. I can hear air in them. I don't know if you can hear that over stuff. The bed is on. I put a hole in the back of the cab to use the bed post. But this is now a straight axle production version Lone Ranger uh, truck. It has a roughly a 12.5 inch wheelbase, 12.5. Um, the rear bed has a bumper built in so you can get plastic bumper points. The front is Chunky Customs bumper. It is servo on axle. That's the way it's set up. I am going to test out here soon a servo on axle with a VFD from a Vanquish. I haven't glued this back or put Velcro back in it yet with the different sliders. These are a Thingiverse slider. Again, I still need to put the sleeves on these legs. Just cut them and put them on there. They're Amazon cut to length drive shafts. These are Charlie's wheels. Um, there's no brass on this, so we have a big rotor on here for weight to the front. Um, it is a two-low, like I said earlier, but I think the truck sits really nice. Body just slides on like that. There it is. I did the red bed because I wanted to match the wheels since it's Charlie's truck set up for him. Um, with the shocks at the lowest position, plenty of clearance from the bed, but I think you could almost be at the highest position before this would hit. They're on the high position in front. Lean back slightly. Again, it's all to tuning your spring settings and stuff like that. This is a builder's kit. Can't say it enough. It has a 75 millimeter skid, 75 millimeter bed, 75 millimeter front brace for the width. So it's 3 inches wide, basically. Um, it works with different kinds of axles. So far, there's one with Capra axles. There's one with AR-44s. There's several with F10 portals. Actually, there's three with AR-44s. Um, there's two, maybe three now with the Mias Red Spider, whatever portal version of the AR-44 center with the Vanquish outer hub, whatever they're calling it, the Red Spider portal 10-2. Um, I prefer the deluxe shocks. These have offset caps. I like the 90s because it brings the truck up a tiny bit for a tiny bit more belly clearance, but it's not necessary if you want it really low and slung. That's fine too because I think this truck is sitting really nice. Um, I like it where the back axle hangs just slightly lower than the front, and that's what you have here. Back axle's hanging a little lower than the front. So when you're transitioning over stuff, that's how I set up my trucks. Um, if you want a chassis, let me know. Comment. I'm Gems Hobbies on Facebook and Instagram, or it's gemshobbies@gmail.com. I hope you like the truck. I hope the video came out decent. I'll go through and edit it here in a minute and hopefully get this out tonight before I go live and I can show this truck and maybe some of you have watched the video on it. Probably gonna swap the tires out. I have some megalithics over there, I think. And Sunday I'll be getting some of the Boss Mans. Maybe I'll put the Boss Mans on this for Charlie, let him test it out. Um, again, if you want a chassis, I think they look great. I think they're performing well. We went to Florida, won in a team competition. All three of us were running that, and it was Truck Tech Joe, Jericho, which is Zomboys Gaming, me, Jim's Hobbies. We all ran the Lone Ranger chassis. Two of us on F10 portals, Jericho on straight axles. Very, very similar truck to this. Um, Me and Joe were running Chunky Customs wheels. With Jericho has all Chunky Customs bumpers, the Lone Ranger bed, Lone Ranger um, chassis rails. Huge shout out again to Mitch Miner, Top Speed RC Mitch Miner, Mitchell Miner. I'll put a link in his channel below for cutting these. Pretty sure we're going to cut a bunch more. So if you want them, they'll be in stock. Get them shipped out to you pretty quick. Probably use USPS. I don't have pirate shipping or anything yet. Again, it is 88 on the bottom, 75 on the top, 187 on the bottom, 160 on the top. They've worked with portals and straight axles. When I run the straight axles, the top, well, pretty much all of them, the top is a straight. The only high clearance link is the bottom and the rear. These are links I made. I bent myself, but I matched them to a hardcore link. Um, I can, if you don't want to make your links, I will send a copy of what I ordered from Hardcore on my other truck. Again, this is ones I made. Team Raffy makes a link set. You can do your own links. Deluxe, you can get them and just bend them yourself, the bottom two. These are stainless. Well, obviously, this is threaded rod on the front of this truck. I need to, again, sleeve it. Jericho's is sleeved on the front. Anything else, let me know. I appreciate everybody supporting us. There is probably almost 15 or 20 of these trucks out. Dennis has two, Joe has two, so that's four. I have mine, Jericho's, Charlie's, Andrew, Darren. There's a bunch out there. Some are still being built, but they're going to be in California. Kurt's RC has them. Psycho 13 Garage. Dirk has one. John Martin in Michigan. Guru RC in Cleveland, as well as Dennis in Cleveland. Um, they're out there and they're working, and or they're being built right now from people that got them after we got it to where Mitch obviously has one. He hasn't ran it yet because he just got all his parts in. Mitch is a speed run guy. Getting him to crawl is kind of fun. But get you one, try it out. $45. It's 50 if you want the bed, just because there's so much more filament in the bed. $45 if you just want the winch mount, which is for full size winch, micro winch, or like the Atlas from Three Brothers. I'm running all Three Brothers in my truck right now. It's running great. I don't have to run a BEC, makes the truck lighter because I can run direct power to my winch and servo. But $45 or 50 if you want the bed, just because the amount of filament, the extra weight, all that stuff, plus shipping. Shipping's usually around $8, $9. I shipped to California for $9, so I don't think anything would be more than that. Again, thank you everybody for watching, and like, subscribe, and tune in for the next one.